What happens when a beloved comedian steps onto a talk show stage and turns the tables on a legendary host with nothing but raw, unfiltered truth? Brace yourself. You're about to witness one of the most unforgettable takedowns in daytime television history. What unfolded between Joy Behar and Leanne Morgan on The View wasn't just an interview. It was a masterclass in poetic justice, broadcast live to millions. Before we dive into this epic showdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because what you're about to hear is absolutely wild. Joy Behar sat at the table with that signature, confident smirk, the one that had kept countless guests on edge for decades. Her perfectly coiffed hair shimmered under the studio lights as she shuffled her notes, gearing up for what she assumed would be another easy victory. 4 decades on television had taught her one golden rule: strike first, strike hard, and never apologize. The producers, however, had booked Leanne Morgan, a rising star in the world of country comedy with over 12 million followers and sold-out theaters across the nation. But to Joy, she wasn't a powerhouse. She was just a small-town comedian from Tennessee. Easy prey, entertainment for lunch. Little did she know she was about to meet her match. "All right, ladies, we are back," Joy announced, her tone a mix of ringmaster and predator. "I am here with Leanne Morgan, who apparently thinks telling jokes about small-town life makes her the next big thing in comedy." And just like that, the ambush began. "Honey, tell our viewers what makes your little story so special," Joy said, the words dripping with condescension, each syllable a dagger meant to cut Leanne down before she even spoke. Her co-hosts shifted uncomfortably, sensing the familiar tension that always followed Joy's verbal attacks. Leanne sat poised, her simple yet elegant outfit radiating authenticity, a sharp contrast to Joy's designer glamour. She smiled politely, but her eyes, they spoke volumes. She had already sized up Joy and found her wanting. "Well, Joy," Leanne began, her warm Tennessee drawl wrapping around the words like honey hiding a sting, "I reckon what makes my comedy special is that it comes from real life. Real struggles, real people. Not everyone needs to put on airs or talk down to folks to get a laugh." The room felt it. First blood had been drawn, not with fury, but with a calm, Southern-infused charm. Joy's smug expression flickered for a brief moment before snapping back into place. "Oh, please, we all know real comedy requires intelligence and sophistication. Anyone can tell stories about their hometown and get a few chuckles from people who don't know any better." Joy fired back, wielding her go-to weapon, intellectual superiority wrapped in dismissive laughter. But this time, her words landed with far less impact than she expected. "You know what's funny to me, Joy?" Leanne leaned forward slightly, her tone still sweet, but edge sharp enough to slice through glass. The audience leaned in with her. "I've been watching your show for years, and I keep waiting for you to say something genuinely funny, rather than just mean-spirited." Silence. You could hear the air conditioning hum. The studio held its breath. Hearts raced, and in that suspended moment, a reputation began to crack. Joy's face flushed. 41 years of carving out a legacy as the sharp-tongued veteran suddenly felt fragile under the steady gaze of a polite, small-town comedian. "Excuse me," Joy's voice pitched higher, defenses rising. "I've been doing comedy longer than you've been alive, sweetie. Don't come on my show and lecture me about what's funny, sweetie." Another diminutive. Another attempt to diminish Leanne. Another swing that missed entirely. "Oh, honey," Leanne said, calm, warm, and unshakable. "I'm not lecturing you, I'm just observing. Where I come from, we were taught that being mean isn't the same as being funny, but maybe that's just small-town values talking." The phrase hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled, a simple line, yet devastating. Joy's hands clenched on the table, knuckles turning ghostly white. Her mask of composure was slipping with every passing second. "Small-town values?" she snapped. You mean small-minded thinking. Real comedy challenges people, makes them think. It's not all sunshine and rainbows like your little folksy routine. Her words were flailing, her ammunition running dry, and everyone in the studio could feel it. You're absolutely right, Joy, Leanne replied, nodding thoughtfully, a hint of a trap forming in her calm, measured tone. Real comedy does challenge people, but tell me this. When was the last time you told a joke that brought people together instead of tearing them apart? When was the last time you made someone feel better about themselves instead of worse? When was the last time your comedy healed instead of hurt? 3 questions. 3 bullets. 3 perfectly aimed strikes to the heart of everything Joy Behar had spent decades building. The air hung heavy, charged, electric. Joy opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time in 40 years of razor-sharp comebacks, 40 years of verbal domination, 40 years of never being caught speechless, she had nothing. The woman who thrived on cutting others down had been silenced by one simple, honest question from a comedian she had dismissed as insignificant. Whoopi Goldberg tried to throw her a lifeline. Well, this is getting interesting. Let's talk about your tour, Leanne. But Joy's pride refused retreat. Even with an empty arsenal, her ego demanded she strike back. Wait a minute, Joy snapped. Are you seriously trying to school me on comedy? Do you know who you're talking to? I've been on television longer than you've been telling jokes at church socials or wherever it is you perform. Church socials, Joy repeated, a last desperate swing from a fighter who knew she was losing. But Leanne didn't flinch, not for a second. Church socials, comedy clubs, theaters, Netflix specials, sold-out arenas? You name it, Joy, Leanne said, calm, poised, and unshakable. It doesn't matter where you perform or how long you've been doing it. If you've forgotten why you started in the first place, comedy isn't about hurting people. It's about healing. 8 simple words, landing like a sledgehammer against everything Joy had built her identity around. Oh, spare me the after-school special philosophy, Joy snapped, composure crumbling. Comedy is about truth. And the truth is, not everyone is cut out for this business. Some people should stick to their little local circuits instead of trying to play with the big girls. The big girls, she repeated, the phrase sounding hollow now, a playground taunt from someone who had run completely out of intelligent things to say. The audience shifted, sensing the heat of Joy's rising hostility. But Leanne remained as calm as a summer evening, patient, poised, knowing the moment for the final strike was coming. Big girls, Leanne echoed softly, Southern charm still in place, but now steel lay beneath. Joy, honey, let me tell you something about big girls. Big girls don't need to tear others down to feel important. Big girls lift each other up. 2 statements, perfectly mirrored, each one reflecting back at Joy's entire career like a harsh, unflinching mirror. Joy scoffed, the defensive sound of someone with no defenses left. Please, she said. This isn't kindergarten. This is show business. If you can't handle a little criticism, maybe you should go back to whatever small-town comedy night you crawled out of. Leanne tilted her head, looking genuinely puzzled by the word choice. Crawled out of? She asked softly. Is that what you call this? Because where I come from, we call it being ugly for no reason. The audience gasped. 200 people inhaling sharply in unison. But since you brought up criticism, Leanne continued, voice gentle as a lullaby, but striking like a guided missile, let me offer you some. Your whole career has been built on punching down. You make fun of people who cannot fight back. You mock folks who can't defend themselves and call it comedy, Leanne continued, her voice calm but razor-sharp. But real comedy, Joy, real comedy punches up. It targets power, exposes injustice, challenges the people who deserve it. Not regular folks just trying to live their lives. Joy's face had shifted from red to deep purple. In less than 10 minutes, the predator had become the cornered animal. "How dare you come on my show and psychoanalyze me?" she hissed. "You don't know anything about my career or what I've accomplished." "Oh, I know plenty," Leanne replied sweetly, loading her final rounds with surgical precision. "I know you've spent years making jokes at the expense of ordinary people. I know you think being from New York makes you smarter than everyone else. I know you've built a brand around being the mean girl who never grew up. And honestly, Joy, it's just sad. Sad. One word, but heavy enough to land like a hammer. Not anger, not contempt. Pure pity." Joy's voice cracked. Vulnerability peeked through the rage. "I am successful. I have a career. I have influence. What do you have? A few YouTube videos and some county fair gigs?" Leanne laughed. Warm, genuine, authentic. The sound filled the studio like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You know what I do have, Joy?" she asked, calm but piercing. "I have people who come to my shows and leave feeling better about themselves. I have fans who tell me my comedy helped them through the darkest times of their lives. I have the respect of my peers because I treat people with dignity. Can you say the same? Silence, not just uncomfortable. Deafening, damning, absolute." Joy opened her mouth, closed it, gasped, and fumbled desperately for a retort that simply didn't exist. Sunny Host attempted a lifeline. "Well, different comedians have different styles, right?" "Different styles?" Leanne interrupted, never breaking eye contact. "Is cruelty a style now? Because that's all I've seen from Joy today. You invited me on the show not for a conversation, but to embarrass me in front of millions. And the sad part? You've only embarrassed yourself." Joy finally spoke, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. "You think you're so much better than me with your folksy wisdom and your holier-than-thou attitude. Well, let me tell you something, sweetheart. This business will chew you up and spit you out. Nice girls finish last." "Maybe," Leanne said thoughtfully, considering her words. "But at least they finish with their souls intact." She leaned in, calm, unwavering. "Tell me, Joy, when you go home at night, are you proud of the person you've become? When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? When you're alone with your thoughts, are you at peace?" 3 questions. 3 precise missiles, striking the very foundation of Joy's carefully constructed world. Each one landed like a punch to the gut, staggering her. For a fleeting, terrible moment, the mask slipped. The audience glimpsed beyond the bravado, the designer clothes, the decades of reputation. They saw the insecure, bitter, lonely woman hiding underneath. I don't have to listen to this," Joy stammered, hands shaking as she scrambled through her notes. "This is my show. My show." "Actually," Leanne said quietly, with the calm authority of someone speaking unassailable truth, "I think it's the audience's show. They decide what's worth watching. And right now, they're watching you throw a tantrum because someone finally had the courage to tell you the truth." Joy looked around the table, desperate for allies. Whoopi studied her hands. Sunny stared at the ceiling. The others avoided eye contact as if survival depended on it. She realized in that gut-punching moment she was completely alone. "You don't understand," Joy whispered, voice barely audible as the fight drained from her. "This is how this business works. You have to be tough. You have to fight for your place." But even as she spoke, the truth hung in the air. Sometimes toughness is measured not by how many you can crush, but by whether you can walk away without losing your soul. "You have to be willing to do whatever it takes," Joy said, her voice trembling with fury. "No, honey," Leanne replied softly, almost pitying, and that softness made her words hit even harder. "You don't have to become a monster to succeed. You chose to become one. And the saddest part? You've convinced yourself it was necessary, when really, It was just easier than doing the hard work of being genuinely funny. The studio was silent, so quiet you could hear the hum of the air conditioning, the soft whir of cameras, and the unmistakable sound of a career unraveling in real time. Joy stared at Leanne, a mix of hatred and something far darker in her eyes. Recognition. For the first time in decades, she saw herself clearly, and the reflection was horrifying. Her breathing became shallow and rapid. The flicker of self-awareness quickly transformed back into rage. She couldn't handle the mirror Leanne was holding up, so she did what she always did when cornered. She attacked. You know what? Joy stood abruptly, her chair screeching across the studio floor. The audience winced. I've had enough of this sanctimonious garbage. You come here acting like some kind of comedy saint, but you are nothing. A nobody from nowhere trying to lecture me about my career. Leanne remained seated, her posture relaxed, her expression compassionate rather than triumphant. A perfect counterpoint to Joy's meltdown. Joy, please sit down, Leanne said calmly. We're just having a conversation. No, Joy's voice echoed like thunder. This is not a conversation. This is an ambush. You came here with an agenda to make me look bad, and I will not stand for it. The audience shifted uncomfortably, some pulling out phones to capture what was quickly becoming a historic meltdown. In the control room, producers frantically debated whether to cut to commercial or let it play out, either choice a disaster waiting to happen. I didn't come here with an agenda, Leanne said softly, voice cutting clearly through the chaos. I came to talk about comedy, but if you feel attacked, maybe you should ask yourself why. Sometimes the truth feels like violence because we've been lying to ourselves for so long. Stop it! Joy slammed her hand on the table, rattling coffee mugs. Stop with your phony psychology and fake wisdom. You think you're so smart, so insightful? Here's some insight for you. This business is cutthroat. Survival of the fittest. And the fittest is not some small-town nobody who thinks she can waltz in and lecture her betters. Her betters. The words hung heavy, exposing all the ugly arrogance behind Joy's worldview. Whoopi finally stepped in. Joy, maybe we should take a breath here. Don't you start to, Whoopi, Joy snapped, spinning on her like a wounded animal. I'm the one with the edge, the one asking the tough questions, the one who isn't afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Is that what you think you do? Leanne cut through Joy's rant, like silk being sliced by a blade. Because what I see is someone who mistakes cruelty for courage, someone who confuses being mean with being smart. You don't ask tough questions, Joy. You ask cruel ones. There's a difference. Joy's face had turned a dark purple, spittle flying as she hurled her final volley. I don't have to take this from some amateur who probably learned comedy from sitcom reruns in her trailer. You want to know what real comedy is? Real comedy is telling the truth, even when it hurts. And the truth is, you'll never be more than a novelty act. A cute little distraction for people who don't appreciate real talent. The silence that followed was different from all that came before. Not uncomfortable. Damning. Even Joy seemed to realize she had gone too far, crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. But she was too deep in rage to back down. Leanne stood slowly, deliberately, every movement commanding attention without demanding it. Her voice carried profound sadness, making her words cut even deeper. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. Comedy is about telling the truth, even when it hurts. So here's a truth for you. You are not the victim here. You are not wronged. You are not being unfairly attacked. You're just a bitter woman, Leanne said softly, each word deliberate, who spent so many years tearing others down that you've forgotten how to build anything, including yourself. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Leanne raised a gentle hand. an unspoken command for silence that the entire studio obeyed. I came here today genuinely excited to meet you, Leanne continued. I grew up watching you, thinking you were this strong, funny woman who had made it in a business that destroys most people. But what I see now is someone who let that business turn her into something ugly. And the saddest part, you don't even see it. How dare you, Joy whispered. But there was no fire in her voice anymore, just ashes where fury used to live. I dare, Leanne said, calm, unflinching. Because someone needs to. Your co-hosts won't tell you. They're too scared. Your producers won't tell you. They like the money you bring in. Your audience deserves better than what you've become. But they keep watching out of habit, or morbid curiosity, or just to see what train wreck you'll create next, not because you bring them joy. When was the last time you truly brought anyone joy, Joy? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Joy looked around the studio, at the cameras capturing her humiliation, at the audience watching in stunned silence, at her co-hosts refusing to meet her gaze. For the first time in 41 years, she saw what everyone else had seen all along. A broken, bitter woman, someone who had traded her humanity for the illusion of power. And come up empty. I've been doing this for 30 years, Joy said weakly, wielding the number like a shield that had already crumbled. And what do you have to show for it? Leanne asked gently, almost kindly. Because from where I'm sitting, all I see is someone who spent 3 decades becoming someone nobody wants to be around, unless they're being paid to tolerate her. Joy's face crumpled like paper in a fist. For a fleeting moment, it seemed she might cry on national television. But then, the anger flared one last time, a dying star exploding before collapsing into nothing. You think you've won something here? She shrieked. You think humiliating me in front of millions makes you powerful? Congratulations! You've destroyed someone who was already down. Actually, Leanne said softly, it makes me sad. Because I see the person you could have been. I see glimpses of the comedian who probably started out wanting to make people laugh, not cry. But you buried her under all this bitterness and cruelty so deep, I don't think even you remember her anymore. Joy swayed slightly, staggered by the weight of Leanne's words, knocked off balance in a way no insult ever could. The fight had left her. The predator had become prey. The hunter had been hunted. She looked around the studio one final time, searching for something, anything to hold on to. And when she spoke, her voice was barely audible, broken, defeated. I cannot do this anymore. Without another word, Joy Behar walked off the set. Not a stormy, theatrical exit meant to make a statement. Not a dramatic return planned for later. This was the shuffle of a woman who had finally seen herself clearly and could not bear it for one more second. The click of her high heels echoed through the studio. Click, 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 until even that faded into nothing. The cameras kept rolling, the audience sat frozen. Absolute silence. No one moved, no one spoke, no one breathed. Leanne watched her leave, expression calm but heavy with genuine sadness. No triumph, only empathy for what she had witnessed and what she had been forced to do. Well, that was certainly something, Leanne, Whoopi said, trying to salvage some normalcy. Thank you for having me, Leanne replied softly, her heart clearly no longer in the pleasantries. I hope Joy finds what she's looking for. I truly do. As the show cut to commercial, the audience began to process the magnitude of what they had witnessed. They had come expecting light entertainment, celebrity gossip, and daytime fluff. Instead, they had seen the complete psychological unraveling of a television personality who spent 41 years hiding behind a mask of cynicism and cruelty. In the end, it wasn't anger that brought Joy Behar down. It wasn't shouting. It wasn't meeting cruelty with cruelty. It was something far more powerful, the unvarnished truth, delivered with compassion, by someone who refused to play by her rules, who refused to stoop to her level, who refused to become what she had become. That's how a small-town comedian from Tennessee accomplished what no politician, no celebrity, and no fellow comedian had managed in 4 decades. She held up a mirror and forced Joy Behar to see herself clearly. The reflection was unbearable, and Joy simply could not face it anymore. What does it take to truly change after decades of becoming someone you were never meant to be? Is redemption possible after 41 years of cruelty? Can a person rebuild themselves after tearing down so many others? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one.